Your Excellency, I am very pleased to greet you here in our studio and thank you for time and for visiting our public radio.
Dobrý deň, ďakujem za zaprošenie.
Your Excellency, one of the important aspects of Russian aggression is information war, propaganda and disinformation. Russia unfortunately knows how to skillfully influence public opinion. What is the European Union doing in order to reduce Russian influence?
Well, unfortunately, Russian disinformation and false narratives goes way back in history, 100 years ago. And just now, with the social media and with the electronic means, it is much cheaper and much faster to spread it. And unfortunately, long before the full-scale invasion, Russia was very successfully planting and spreading false narratives about Ukraine that were very, very widespread in Europe. And people really, truly realized how corrosive it was only after the full-scale invasion. And already in March of 2022, the EU took the, for us at that time, bold step to, in fact, prohibit 16 Russian disinformation channels, Sputnik, RT, from broadcasting in the EU. And it also put a number of Russian propagandists on the list, which is now about 1,900 of Russian individuals and entities that are under EU sanctions. But this is only the punitive side. What we also have, and this is of a longer nature, for about 7-8 years, we have had this little group in the EU institutions that was looking at Russian disinformation and was tracking Russian disinformation narratives. It's called Stratcom. And it was just a small group of people. Now it's much more robust, and they actually track how Russian narratives evolve. They have already uncovered about 17,000 of these false narratives. And the scary part is that almost half of it connects with Ukraine. And this is actually a good read. They issue on their website every week new information, and the website is called EU versus Disinfo, if anyone was interested in looking at it. And we have also developed a rapid alert system among EU institutions, with member states, and also with NATO and the G7, on really seeing when there are big Russian disinformation campaigns, because apart from attacks on Ukraine, we are very well aware that they also act in the EU, in the United States, do election interference, etc. So there is quite a lot of awareness, and so we try to address it. And in Ukraine, we support independent media, we support fact checkers, we support the Suspilne TV and radio, but also in the regions, about 150 of various media outlets around the country, with the idea of making sure that the information that is spread in Ukraine is of high veracity.
Your Excellency, you mentioned the United States of America. Recently, USA made resolution on the possibility of confiscating frozen Russian assets. This is a very good solution and very good step. At what stage is the discussion in the European Union about that?
The discussion in the European Union has been going on for a while. I think that for the moment, we are at the stage of finding a channel how to use the proceeds from the assets, about 3 billion euros a year, and how to channel it. The proposal on the table is that it would be channeled through the European Peace Facility to help Ukraine purchase weapons and military equipment, which would be a little bit of poetic justice. We are currently not very well advanced on on the seizure of the underlying assets. I think there is an active discussion in G7. The trouble is that most of the assets are in the European Union, not in the United States. There's only about 6 billion of it there. So that discussion, I presume, will continue for a while to find all the legal ways and legally grounded basis how to use the asset. There are questions about sustainability of the currencies and the trust in the currencies, etc. But the first important step already happened, that very early after the full-scale invasion, the assets were frozen. They have now already been put into separate accounts, so they cannot be touched. And the third step for us will be to use the proceeds of those assets.
How is the development of the military industry in the European Union countries? Ukraine did not receive 1 million ammunitions during the year as it was promised a year ago. What prevents EU from speeding up production? How to stimulate it?
Well, I think that there is no question that the take-up of the or pick-up of the military production machine takes a while. I mean, let's not forget where we come from, that in the post-Second World War, there's been really, and especially after the end of the Cold War, there's been a real slowdown of military spending in Europe. We can debate why, how, etc., but that was a fact. There is now a newfound sense of urgency. I think the 1 million. Promise is a little bit of a red herring, because it talks about donations while in the meantime there is active trade and contractual delivery of various ammunitions. But I think we are on track also thanks to the Czech initiative to have the proverbial 1 million and more by the end of the year. In only a month ago, the EU adopted its first ever European defense industrial strategy, which actually takes Ukraine as if it were a member already. I mean, it counts on the work with Ukraine, and in fact, on the 6th of March, we have a Ukraine Defense Forum in Brussels, which will bring together Ukrainian authorities, Ukrainian businesses, and EU industries active in the defense sphere, where there is going to be matchmaking, and hopefully that's going to be an important step in making this a lot more productive and more efficient.
And coming to the topic of negotiations with the European Union, Your Excellency, in June, Ukraine expects the opening of negotiations with the European Commission. And are there some factors today that can prevent this? And on your opinion, has Ukraine fulfilled all the formal conditions from its side? What reforms should Ukraine complete in the coming weeks?
Well, the main factor that influences any part of the accession process is the need for unanimity among member states. That's the way how the treaties that establish the European Union are set up, and this is the process through all of the countries that entered later, like mine, had to go through. So there will have to be unanimity. This is what I always stress to my Ukrainian counterparts, that however insignificant it may seem, concerns of individual member states matter. Having said that, I very much hope, I said it somewhere else publicly as well, that I very much hope that at the end of June we will have opening of negotiations with Ukraine and Moldova. The political signal was sent already in December of last year. And Ukraine is well on track, and Ukraine is ready to negotiate. This doesn't mean that there are not reforms that need to continue. Obviously they do, but they will be able to continue throughout throughout the negotiations for accession. So I can't guarantee it, but what I can say that I very much hope that they will be open in June.
From July 1st until the end of the year, the Council of Europe will be chaired by Hungary. Those positions we know about Ukraine. Can Hungary's presidency have a negative impact on the progress of negotiations during the second half of the year?
Before I answer, let me just, this is the complicated nature of our nomenclature. Council of Europe is the entity that sits in Strasbourg, and Ukraine is a member of a human rights body. The entity that Hungary will be chairing is the Council of the European Union. I realize these are very similar terms, but that's what we have to grapple with. Look, this is presidency of the Council of the European Union is something that's enshrined in the very basic act of the European Union from the very beginning. And during the rotating 6-month presidency, the country that is presiding is expected to play the role of an honest broker. In other words, that's not the moment where you push for your governmental or your national priorities. You're supposed to be chairing meetings, but facilitating consensus among others. I do not expect that this will be deviated from this standard, because the system is set up that it doesn't really allow for huge excesses on this. The country needs to be an honest broker, otherwise it's very hard to facilitate the meetings that they will have to chair.
And about some relations Ukraine with EU member states, the protest of Polish farmers and transporters on the border with Ukraine has been going on for almost a year. They were periodically joined in Hungary, Slovakia and Romania. Difficult discussions continued with Brussels. It is obvious that negotiations on joining the EU will include issues of agrarian policy. What conclusions should be drawn? How to agree that it is beneficial for everyone?
Let me take a little bit a step back and think to the time when my country, Slovakia, and Poland and others, Hungary, were trying to join the European Union. In fact, in a few days, on 1st of May, is the 20th anniversary of our entry into the EU in 2004. And this was also preceded by a lot of protectionist instincts and feelings among the older member states. They were worried about truckers. They were worried about, believe it or not, Polish plumbers, and there were a lot of feeling that the market in the EU will be disbalanced by there were many smaller countries, but Poland was a big one. So this is something that's going to be a feature of the entire accession process. There will have to be adjustments. Ukraine is a sizable country. It has competitive industries. Agriculture is certainly a competitive terrain, and therefore, when the full-scale invasion started, the EU unilaterally opened its market without any limitation to Ukrainian produce. And now, when this needed to be extended for a third year already, these protectionists or the feeling that there needs to be protection for local communities, local farmers, became part of the game. But despite that, there is now an agreement. On the 23rd of April, it was adopted in the European Parliament on keeping the market open with some limitations. There is limitations on 6 different commodities and a reference period of 2.5 years, meaning 23, 22 and half of 21, to measure the amounts after which there are safeguard mechanisms triggered. So I think this is a balanced outcome. It still keeps the market open, but there are some safeguards for countries to apply if there is real impact shown to the local agricultural industry.
Your Excellency, elections to the European Parliament is coming in June, and Ursula von der Leyen recently stated that the EU should fight friends of Putin in Europe. What do you expect from the elections? What significance will this have for Ukraine?
Look, there is no question that there is going to be participation of fringe parties, whether on the left or far right in the European Parliament. Also by opinion polls, it still looks that the huge center will hold, which is the conservatives, the liberals, the socialists. There may be some changes in the power structures, but I do not expect major shifts in the posture and support to Ukraine. I expect rather changes in some perhaps domestic issues, questions about the Green Deal and other things. I do not really expect a major shift on Ukraine.
Nice to hear that. And
I hope I will not be proven wrong.
As far as you are from Slovakia, our neighboring country, I have a question related to Slovakia.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, Slovakian crowdfunders raised nearly 2 million euros for Ukraine, despite the position of government. Does it mean that the government's position does not fully reflect the position of your society?
Well, Slovakia belongs to a huge number of other countries around the world that is fairly polarized. There is no question, and that was also seen from the recent presidential and parliamentary elections. But I look at the crowdfunding campaign from a different perspective. And by the way, it's not 2 million, it's now 3,750,000.
More. Even
so
more.
Almost 4 million, and almost 60,000 people participated, which in a country of 5 million is quite sizable. So I'm very, very proud of my compatriots. And I look at the campaign differently. It's a true solidarity and true help of neighboring country in need. And it's actually quite extraordinary that in a fairly pacifist country that Slovakia has traditionally been, there is such an outpour and desire to help with the ammunition. I mean, I think that says a lot. As I said, it makes me proud, and I think this has been the main motivator, because the government is despite a number of the rhetorics, is supportive of Ukraine in all the EU debates. The two governments have already had 2 meetings, one in Uzhgorod, one in Michalovce. There are concrete projects agreed, but this particular issue of joining the Czech buying ammunition for Ukraine was not officially joined, and people said we want to do it. And again, for a pacifist country to have this upswell of grassroots organization is quite unexpected, quite impressive, and again, for the third time, it makes me proud.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for visiting Ukraine Public Radio, and thank you as a representative of European Union for support which European Union gives for Ukraine in these crucial times. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Дуже дякую.
Шановні друзі, ви слухаєте Українське радіо, і ми щойно спілкувалися із пані послом Європейського Союзу в Україні Катериною Матерновою.